Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Wanted to go over what's coming up in the next week and how the next week is potentially the most important week in earnings season. But before we get to that, wanted to go over how the market did last week. On Friday, it ended in the green. We actually had a very green week. As you can see, all the major indexes are in green. You got the Dow up, you got the S&P up, Nasdaq, everything was up. Did have a really good week last week. As I've said before, guys, next week is going to be a very important week, or this week is going to be a very important week when it comes to how the economy is doing, as we have a lot of the major companies going to be reporting. But I did want to briefly go over China's GDP, as they did finally give us those numbers. They were delayed, as they were supposed to come out around the 18th of October, but we barely just got them on Sunday, the 23rd. So they did beat their numbers. They did come in positive GDP at 3.9%. Reason why this is so important is because China is the second largest economy behind the US when it comes to GDP. So China's numbers are very important to kind of see how the overall economy is doing as far as the global economy. Something also to keep in mind is China was one of the strictest when it came to COVID, where if you had COVID, if you even sneezed in the wrong direction, they were locking down facilities left and right. So this kind of shows that China may be a little bit getting over the COVID restrictions that they're doing, hopefully, but it is a good sign that they are doing positive GDP and that they are growing currently. This week, like I've said, is the most important week for earnings. There is no week more important than this week. Your portfolios will either go up or down based on almost most of these companies. These are some of the heavy hitting companies. I'm talking about trillions upon trillions of market capitalization that will change. Billions. This is a crazy week. This is the most important week. This will really determine how the US will do when it comes to their own GDP. We talked about China's going up. This week will really help determine how if we're going to grow as a company. As just like I said, this is the biggest week, the most important week. There is no there is no week more important than this one. I'm going to go into small details on some of these companies, give you my thoughts on what companies are going to move the market, guys. So let's get into it. Monday before the bell, we don't have anything crazy. We got Philip reporting, so we're kind of see how they're doing. Not really a company I'm into, but nothing crazy happening on Monday. On Monday after hours, you do have Logitech. Logitech is one of the biggest companies when it comes to gaming hardware, when it comes to like headphones, mics, things like that. So they're gonna kind of give us a little, and they're the largest, I believe. So they're gonna give us a little brief detour on how the gaming section of the economy is doing, right? Because they're one of the major players when it comes to that, when it comes to hardware. So kind of gonna take a look at their earnings, but other than that, really don't have anything on Monday. You do got Discover, right? Discover is the third or fourth biggest credit card company in the world, right? You got Visa, MasterCard, Discover, as well as American Express. So Discover is one of the ones that kind of gives a little brief detail into the economy, something that people may be interested in. But other than that, nothing really crazy going on. Now you do have UPS on Tuesday before the opening. UPS is one of the most important ones as UPS and FedEx help determine how the economy is going as far as if their business is booming, usually the economy is booming. If their business is not doing so hot, usually the economy is going on a downward trend. Now, FedEx released their earnings a couple of weeks ago, and their earnings were bad. And they even projected that they're going to be down. I want to say it was around 20% going into this holiday season. So FedEx reported very bad earnings. So UPS is the bigger brother of FedEx. They're the number one logistic company in America. So they're really going to show us how the economy is doing. I think this is probably the most important one before opening on Tuesday. So something that I'm definitely personally going to be taking a look at, but definitely going to be looking out for UPS. Very important company to the economy. You got GM reporting. They're really the one of the major players when it comes to cars. I want to say they are the number one when it comes to regular cars, as Tesla did not come down as far as market cap, but they are the number one company when it comes to selling cars. So GM is a good sign into how the economy is doing, how the auto market is doing. Now, China reported that their auto market is doing fantastic. Their auto market is booming. So we want to see how the US is doing. And GM is a company to help kind of show us how what's going on in the economy. Now, when we get to the next company, we got Coca-Cola. Good old Coca-Cola, one of the oldest companies in the world, one of the strongest as far as brand companies in the world, right? Everybody knows Coke. No matter how you sum it up, you guys drink Coke or a Coke product, no matter they own so many products is ridiculous. They're the biggest beverage company in the US. So definitely one of the staples, and they're one of the biggest and global companies in the world. So Coca-Cola, how inflation is affecting them, going to be something that we're going to want to look at. So definitely a company that you really want to pay attention to. Tuesday before the opening, we got a lot of major hitters as you can see, especially over just the first three, right? UPS, GM, and Coca-Cola, three huge companies that really can give us some insight to how the economy is doing. I don't think nobody's more important before the bell than UPS, but definitely companies to look at. As we go down, we got GE, right? General Electric, another company can kind of show us some things. We got 3M. One of 3M is one of the most stable, one of the best dividend companies out there in the world. Very consistent dividend, been paying it for years upon years. So definitely a company that can, yeah, people can look at. Especially, I know a lot of people that are in the dividends. That's one of the companies they're going to be looking into. But after the bell on Tuesday, got the $1 trillion boys club going up. The first one being Microsoft. Microsoft is the in the second biggest public company in the world. They are gigantic. They make more profit than most companies do in even revenue. So when I say this is one of the most important ones to look at, it really does not get bigger than Microsoft, and Microsoft can really determine how the economy is doing. Microsoft can really determine and change how the stock market is going to do Tuesday. But we also have Alphabet. Alphabet is coming out with their numbers on that Tuesday as well. Another $1 trillion company. We got $2 trillion companies back to back. So when I say the market will move in a big way on Tuesday, I really mean this. Tuesday is probably arguably the most important day of the week. Tuesday is arguably the most important day of the week when it comes to it. You got $2 trillion companies performing, $2 trillion companies giving their earnings reports, so it's a lot. So be ready for Tuesday, guys. Very important week, very important day. We got Visa reporting. Visa is a very good company to look into. Like Discover, they are the number one credit card company in the world. I'm pretty sure almost everybody that's listening to this has a Visa card in their wallet. That's how big they are. So, kind of paying attention to them to see how their transactions are doing, seeing what they're doing with their business is a very good sign into the economy. We got Chipotle going on. Love their food, but we got Chipotle. They're going to be announcing their earnings. Actually going to pay attention to them. They're a really good growing company. When I speak about a company that came back from a major disaster couple of years ago with their chicken. I don't know if you guys remember that. They came back in a large way and has been growing in a significant way in the last few years. So definitely Chipotle is one of those companies that I'm going to look into. We got Spotify. I'm personally not a big Spotify believer, but I do know a lot of people follow that company. Something to keep in mind with Spotify is that they're still a non-profitable business, that they don't look to be profitable anytime soon. So just not a company that I can get behind, but I do know a lot of people love Spotify. We got Texas Instruments coming up, a semiconductor, definitely somebody to look into. Nothing crazy off the bell, Skechers, nothing really crazy. Wednesday, we have the big one in Boeing. Boeing reporting Wednesday before the bell. Something to keep in mind with Boeing. Boeing is one of the largest aeros companies in the world. They did have a lot of drama over the last few years, so it's good to kind of see them doing better, right? Getting over that, but Boeing is another company to kind of look at. Not really big into the economy, but it's an interesting company to kind of just um, see how they're doing. I know a lot of people are in that company, so definitely going to take a look at Boeing. Waste Management, one of the oldest companies, one of the most profitable companies actually when it comes to they're a business that's always going to be in business. You're always going to need waste management. You're always going to need their services, no matter if the economy is booming or the economy is down. So very good company. Not personally one that I look into, but I know some people that do follow waste management. Um, we got Kraft Heinz, not a company I'm into. I actually was in Kraft Heinz a couple of years ago, but not really for me. One of Warren Buffett's biggest positions in his portfolio in the Berkshire Hathaway. So I know a lot of people are going to be looking at those guys. So you do have them. You got Hilton, not really that I'm into. You got Harley Davidson. You got Wingstop. So keep in mind that the company that actually owns Wingstop actually owns Buffalo Wild Wings. A lot of people don't know that, but they're under the same umbrella. So something to keep in mind. Now, after the bell on Wednesday, you have Meta, Facebook. Facebook is one of those important companies, guys. They have been struggling, right? They have been struggling in recent years. One of the key things that a lot of people are going to talk about is how are they doing with their metaverse, right? They even changed their name to Meta. How are they doing with their metaverse? They've committed to spending billions of dollars on the metaverse and have not or are nowhere near really seeing profit. They did just come out with their new Oculus. So they did just come out with that, and this has an extremely high price tag, over $1,000. So something to kind of keep in mind to kind of see how that's doing. I don't. They might not talk about that one too much, as in because it just came out. But that is something that people are going to ask about. Once again, they've been doing it kind of rough, right? Been doing kind of rough. They have dropped dramatically over the last year, over 50%, taking Meta from being close to being in the trillion dollars boy club to only around the $300 million market, $300 billion market cap. But they are still one of the most profitable companies. Their profits is ridiculous. There is very few companies that are better than Meta when it comes to their balance sheet because they have almost virtually no debt on their balance sheet and some of the hugest profits you can even imagine. Like, well, they're one of those companies where their profit are more than most of the biggest companies in the world's revenue. That's how much money they make. So they are one of the companies that if you can get in Meta, if you like what you hear, they can be a home run company, especially with this metaverse if that takes off. But interesting to see how Meta does, specifically after Snapchat just reported their earnings and Snapchat earnings were disastrous. So we're kind of going to see how Meta's doing. Meta and Snap kind of very similar businesses as far as advertisement. So one of the companies I'm personally going to really be paying attention to is Meta. So I like Meta, but we really need to see what they're going to do with this metaverse to kind of determine what their next step is and how should we perceive the stock. But we got Ford, right? We got Ford, another one of the largest car companies in the U.S. They're going to report it. They have their electric car set to come out. So very interesting to see how they're going to do. We got Teladoc. Um, I'm not a big fan of Teladoc. I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing as far as their business concept, but they're highly unprofitable company, and they don't look to be profit no time soon. I know this is one of Kathy Wood's biggest stock, one of her top five in her portfolio, I believe, but I just can't get behind Teladoc, and they don't look to be profitable no time soon. I remember when Teladoc was a $300 company, as far as 300 per share, and now they're less than $100. So they've really fallen a lot, and I think they even still have more room to fall. So not a company I'm interested in, but I do know a lot of people pay attention to this, as this is one of Kathy Wood's one of her biggest stocks. But Wednesday after the bell, after that, you really don't have anything that stands out. Um, it's really nothing that stands out. Not really into any of these. Wolf Speed, not really me. ALA, not really me. So Nothing really particular. I think the big ones on Wednesday are going to be the Boeings and going to be the Meta and Ford just a little bit. And I know some people, a lot of people are probably going to check out that Teledocs. But Thursday, Thursday, Thursday is the day. Thursday is most important. I don't know which one's more important, Tuesday or Thursday. Tuesday or Thursday. We get a little bit of a break on Wednesday, but Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know which one's more important, but when I say those are going to be the biggest days for the week, I really mean those are going to be the biggest days for the week. Have a lot of stuff happening on Tuesday and Thursday. We talked about Tuesday. Now let's get into Thursday. You got Shopify. I'm sorry, Shopify, one of my favorite companies. Very expensive company to own, but what they're doing is amazing. What their vision is amazing. If they can execute at a high level, we're looking at one of the biggest companies, potentially one of the biggest companies in the world. This is Canada's probably most important company that they have. So I'm going to personally be looking into Shopify. I do have a position open in Shopify. It's one of my largest ones. So I am personally going to be paying attention to Shopify, as I do am a big believer of this company and what they can do. We have McDonald's. So McDonald's does come out after that. McDonald's interesting to see. I know they reported downwards because they did recently sell their entire Russian business. There's no McDonald's in Russia. So that's something to keep in mind. So very interesting how that's going to play out. Maybe they're going to talk about that. But McDonald's is one of the biggest brands in the world, one of the most recognizable companies in the world, one of the biggest moats in my opinion. I think it's extremely hard to have a moat as a fast food company because it is so competitive. Fast food is one of the most competitive businesses, but I think the only company, in my opinion, really have a moat, to truly have a moat, is McDonald's, right? People know McDonald's. People, almost everybody has been to a McDonald's. There's a very good chance that everybody's at least been to a McDonald's in their life. Almost everybody's heard of McDonald's across the world. So definitely one of the companies to look at, um, to kind of check out. You got Caterpillar. Caterpillar is a very important company as well. Caterpillar is one of the largest, if not the largest, construction companies as far as their equipment in the world. They do have their earnings going to be reporting that are huge in China. The reason why Caterpillar is going to be even extra important is China just reported their GDP. One of the things they also reported was that the construction in real estate is down. So that kind of hindered their GDP. That was one of the biggest downsides of it was real estate. And as we know, we're in a real estate crisis in the US as well, as real estate has been trending down. So it's interesting to see what Caterpillar is going to report coming up as real estate has been taking some really big hits recently. So that's something I'm personally going to look into. I'm very interested to see what Caterpillar is going to have to say. Definitely want to watch. Southwest, got our airlines on there. Not gonna really pay attention to this one too much, but definitely get to see airlines return back to how they used to be before the pandemic. So it's good to see airlines on our way back. We got Mastercard. We got the second biggest credit card company in the world in Mastercard. So we have three of the top four in the world reporting this week, right? We got Discovery on Monday, we got Visa on Tuesday, and then we got MasterCard on Thursday. So we're gonna really get some good glimpse into how the economy is doing. We got Merck, very important company, drug company, to see how what's going on. Not really one that I'm interested in. Altier, one of those big drug companies as well. Comcast, kind of see how the entertainment industry is doing. That's a really big one. After the bell, though, Tuesday after the bell, we got Amazon. 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 They just had a secondary Prime Day, so they have never done two Prime Days in a year before, but they did a second one, so that's very interesting. Um, but Amazon is very important company. Um, $1 trillion company. A lot of people believe they are the fastest. A lot of people believe they're the $1 trillion company with the fastest growth, as in they're the company that can take it to the next level, right? They have the potential to be even bigger than Apple, which I just skipped over. Can't believe I did that. But um, Amazon is a company I'm really going to pay attention to, see how they're doing. Um, Really, one of the ones I suggest everybody pay attention to. A very important one, Amazon. Um, Apple. I can't believe I skipped over Apple, but Apple. Apple is the biggest company in the world. Let me say that again. Apple is the biggest company in the world. Apple has more profit, not revenue, more profit than than 90% of the companies in the world. Apple Apple is probably, I know I've said this a couple of times, Apple is probably the most important one to look at. They are the biggest company in the world. When you look at the S&P 500 and look at what companies have the most weight on them, Apple was number one. When I say the market moved dramatically this week, one company is going to be a big player in that. There's a lot of companies in here that's going to be big players in that, but Apple is by far going to be the biggest. So I am personally going to very well be looking at Apple's numbers Thursday after the bell. I'm trying to get Apple and Amazon done ASAP and pay attention to those numbers. I will be making a video on Apple and their earnings because that's how important they are. They deserve their own video. I'm gonna try to make a couple of them, or at least one video with multiples in there, because this is such an important week when it comes to earning. There is no more important week. There is no important week than this week. So definitely really one is going to decide how the market is doing in this week. Oh man, scary. We got Intel reporting. Going to be looking at Intel. I'm really interested in how they're doing. They got the new CEO, so I'm very interested in how they're doing, how they're going to compete with the Nvidias and the AMDs. They got this whole game plan around that. So I'm actually looking into them. That's a company that I'm looking to maybe invest in. I don't personally own any shares in it, but that is a company that I'm actually looking at. So we'll see. Pinterest reported disastrous earnings last time. So I'm gonna briefly look at theirs. But they were bad. They were really bad I want to say they fell 20+% last time they reported earnings. So kind of gonna take a look at them and see how they do. We got T-Mobile. We had AT&T last week that reported really good earnings, and then you had Verizon report not so good earnings. So when it comes to the cell phone companies and the internet companies, AT&T is something I'm going to pay attention to because we just have very mixed, and the AT&T being the third largest one, right? They absorbed Sprint about a year ago, so really going to see how T-Mobile does. I said AT&T, I mean T-Mobile. We're really going to see how T-Mobile does and how their report's going to come out. But after that, really nothing crazy. On Fridays, you got the gas companies. You got Exxon and Chevron, two of the largest, if not the largest, gas companies in the world. Not in the world, right? But in the U.S. I'm sorry. So very important to kind of see how gas is doing. I'm pretty sure they're going to report very good earnings. Gas is ridiculous. Gas is ridiculous. So I'm pretty sure they're making huge profits, huge revenues. I'm pretty sure their business is booming right now. So looking into a mirror ball or a glass ball, I'm pretty sure they're going to be good. So going to take maybe a brief look at them. Nothing crazy, but we'll see. We'll see. We got AbbVie. I love AbbVie. I love their business. Want to see how they're going to pivot because their number one um, drug, the Humana drug, does lose its exclusivity starting next year. So kind of seeing how they're going to pivot. They did buy Botox about a year or two ago. So kind of see how they're going to do with that. I'm going to check it out. Not really a next energy guy. I know a lot of people actually are in that one. We do got Charter Communications, so one of the a very fast growing business, but they are a legacy business with cable. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Don't really have high hopes for it, but we'll see how that goes. But guys, like I was saying, this is the most important week when it comes to earnings. There is no week more important than this week. So definitely this is going to be the time to buy. If the market goes down, you need to be ready to buy. If the market goes down, you need to be ready to buy. Is no week more important than this week. If the market goes up, it's up to you what you want to do, right? Whatever you want to do. But I believe that this week is going to be it's for sure going to be a very interesting week. It's a week I'm going to be following a lot. It's probably the most important week to me, to be honest with you guys. As I said, we have billions, trillions of dollars of market cap that's going to be changed this week alone. So definitely keep your eyes on the channel, guys. If you like what you've heard today, please give it a like. Stay with us. Give us subscribe. What we can do better. Give us a comment, guys. Very important week in the market. Definitely something to pay attention to, guys. You guys have a nice day. Bye bye.